Hello everybody. This is going to be an interesting musing today. So the last few days I'm kind of like tapping into something that's going on. It's a timely topic right now, and it's the Me Too statuses on Facebook. Basically, women and men alike posting Me Too in their status to show the dramatic and I guess upsetting statistic of like really just showing, it's going to show how many people are sexually abused or harassed or, you know, affected in their life. And it's been really interesting for me to see, and kind of like also the mental conversation that I've been having, because I, along with so many other women, I feel like had really similar initial thoughts to the whole thing. So I'm going to kind of explain to you my thought process and then walk you through why. So I saw it initially and I was like, wow, that's really, you know, awesome, because I feel like more awareness needs to be brought to this. And at the same time, I started feeling shitty because I thought of all the times that I've been sexually abused or harassed. And then I felt even like, then I typed in the status, Me Too, and then I deleted it because I was like, my problems aren't as big as so many of the other people's. Like, I survived my sexual predators, which is such a sad thought to have. Like, how many people are just so traumatized and affected by their rapists or the rape or like the sexual harassment that they've been through. Basically, like, mine felt insignificant. So like the fact that even though I've had really dramatic and instances that have totally, I'm gonna get into them and share details to be open with you guys about my Me Too story, but that was my thought initially. I was like, oh my goodness, I want to be a part of the movement, because like everybody that I know has been sexually, you know, hurt in some capacity. And then I was like, delete, because I feel like my story is not, I had kind of like that self-worthiness conversation. Like, mine's not as important as somebody else's, or I'm embarrassed that this has happened to me. And there's all this societal meaning that we give to these situations, right? Like, we've kind of, as a culture, have like accepted that this happens, and it perpetuates itself through kind of the vicious cycle of people that have been sexually abused, abusing other people sexually, and all this stuff happens, right? And the message, and kind of my biggest takeaway right now from it, is similar to the one that I had in regards to the shooting. People who are surrounded by love and a really supportive environment, and, you know, are realistically communicated in regards to like sexuality and development and like all of this stuff, those, I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, hold on, focus box, let me see. I just feel like this is a really loaded video and I'm trying to like process all my thoughts. I'm sorry. Basically, I'm gonna read to you something actually. So Jenna Phillips Ballard, one of my biggest role models, and just this woman is so amazing. She wrote it out really well, and I just want to read it. She basically said, these kids grow up to either be a part of the problem, or part of the continued problem by abusing other people, or they become part of the solution by choosing to heal the pain and speak up about it. So I'm choosing to speak up about my experiences right now. And I'm sorry, Mom and family, because this is going to be probably eye-opening for you. But so my first sexual abuse experience happened with my very first boyfriend when I was very young. I was about 13. And I was forced into doing some inappropriate things by him in a very aggressive way. It made me really uncomfortable. Then when I was 16, I was in a parking lot at my community college, and this was the biggest one for me. This one really set the stage for, I feel like, a lot of like sexual, this really set the stage for a lot of like, I feel like future manifesting of really poor things, poor decisions. I felt totally thrown when this happened to me. So I was a junior in high school. I was going to college classes. I was in the parking lot finishing up my nightly college class. It was dusk, one of my favorite times of night, and I was walking to my car in a parking garage. And from the car next to me came a man and pushed me against the car, and I had to defend myself. And it was one of the scariest situations I have ever been in. And I left there that night after defending myself in a very aggressive and way that I never wanted to have to. And I left there feeling really embarrassed and really shameful. And I didn't want to tell my parents because I thought I would get in trouble. Like I thought I might like get yelled at, like maybe you shouldn't have been in the parking lot at night, or why weren't you more observant, or like why did you let that happen? And I had my total wits about me, and I was one of those people that was incredibly observant, and between the distance that it took from the back of my car to the car door where I opened it, the guy was out of his car and on me. So as much as like, you know, people try and offer that feedback like, oh, why didn't you do this or this? Like, I'm sorry, peeps. Like, you don't really have time to react in a situation like that. So it was gnarly. It was really shitty. I didn't know how to react. I felt really bad about myself. I ended up making a series of very unfortunate kind of mistakes in the guys that I decided to surround myself with from then on, because I felt damaged. I felt really you know, like I started to be really detrimental in my own self-worthiness conversation, and the fact that like, Melissa, you were pretty and you attracted this kind of behavior from somebody else. Like maybe you should downplay yourself and your worthiness and all of that kind of stuff. And that's what happens to people who experience situations like this, who experience sexual abuse and sexual harassment. These are totally normal feelings. And it's been really interesting because most of the women that I've been speaking to about this whole Me Too status, as I've been like going through Facebook and stuff, their biggest thing is like, I haven't wanted to write it because I felt like my problems weren't big enough. And that's how I had felt initially. And that's really not the problem. And I want to encourage you guys, if you have been like, you know, had things wrong happen to you that were not ideal, or had things like a situation like a rape or a sexual harassment, or even somebody like with work. Literally one of our coworkers, not a coworker, like a business associate this week called me babe. Not cool. So like this stuff happens on a regular and daily basis to people, not just women either, to like men and women and children and little boys and little girls, and all of the people deal with some sort of abuse. It's how can we support those people, and how can we make our experiences more well known so that theirs is not as shameful, or so that they don't feel as though they are, you know, an oddball out, because this stuff happens. And I think recognizing that it happens is the first tool in, you know, getting past it and moving past it as a culture and refusing to accept it as normal. I think every time something like this happens and more awareness is brought to it, it's ultimately, while it can be really painful for those who have been experiencing things like this or who have experienced it in the past, I think the awareness is huge. And with awareness comes improvement and success. So I encourage you guys, if you've dealt with things like this in the past, or if you have your own personal story, share it with others who are going through the same thing. That's what I encourage you to do. And support those who are struggling, because that's what we ultimately all get to do for each other. I love you guys. Hope you're having a great evening. Sorry this one was a little disjointed. I was kind of just like pouring out feelings. Just a little dump, a little Melissa musing dump. Thanks for the love. I love you guys. Hope you're having a great night.